What is the Apple Vision Pro? Is it as dark and scary and dystopian as you think it is? Yes. Here are the 5 things that you need to know about it. On the surface, the new Apple Vision Pro seems like just the latest major leap forward toward a devilish techno-dystopia in which we're all just fodder inputs for a matrix-like Borg. And it is. It is that. But it's not all terrible. Well, it's all terrible. But there are improvements to society that would come out of the Apple Vision Pro. Ultimately, it'll make society worse, but in one way at least, it would make society better, which is that it's bigger and more comprehensive than your iPhone or your iPad or your computer. And that's kind of a good thing. You put the goggles on and you see everything. You see your apps, and you see your messages, and you see the thing you're watching, and you see past it. And you see the people in the room, and you're sitting up, and you've got good posture. When I've got this stupid little thing, I'm hunched over this all day. Well, I'm not, because I don't answer people's texts or emails, or I'm actually not on my phone very much at all. But most people are, and even I doom scroll on Twitter or whatever, and you find your whole life is just in this, 5-inch by 3-inch kind of box, and you're hunched over, and it's very, very unhuman. So if instead you put the goggles on, you can sit up and look around and see the whole world. You can have them on while you're walking. You're not just stuck on your little cubicle on your little couch doom scrolling. I guess that would in a way be an improvement. Now, the bad side is that it's bigger and more comprehensive and takes up your whole field of vision.
Make up your mind, dude.
That's the bad side, because you can never get away from it. At least with this stupid little thing, I can just throw it across the room, or I could turn it on silent, as I do for much of the day. At least with my computer, I can close it and then go sit out in the world. With the goggles, it's just on all the time. It's all there, and so you're never away from a screen. And you might say, well, okay, that's good. That means I can get my notifications faster, or I can communicate with people across the world more easily, or I can see products or watch movies or scroll through videos even more easily. Yeah, all of that's true, and you're also going to pay much less attention to what's going on in the real world. It adds another layer between you and reality. That's the third thing that I notice about these goggles. And we don't need any more layers between us and reality, because we have so many physical layers between us and reality now. In modern life, we're very often in climate-controlled rooms, in climate-controlled buildings, in very manicured cities where we don't get to see the stars at night because of light pollution, where we don't get to use our bodies very much. We don't get to walk around a lot. We have all sorts of health problems because of that. We don't get to see the beauty of a pasture or an ocean or walk through a garden or anything, because we're just kind of locked in our own cramped little apartments, in our own cramped little pods, whatever, right? So this adds another layer between us and reality. In many ways, it's an answer to Psalm 8. In Psalm 8, the psalmist says, I'm looking all around the earth, the overhanging firmament. You created this world for me, God. Wow, how wonderful it is. What is man that he should deserve this? And what the goggles do is they say, hey, do you want to live in that big, beautiful, majestical world that God created for you? Or would you rather live in a screen that Tim Cook made for you? And because this is a fallen world and the imagination of man's heart is evil from the very beginning, a lot of people are going to choose the latter, which is unfortunate. And what are we going to see in the latter? We're still going to see the stuff in our room, but then we're going to see apps, and we're certainly going to see products that we can buy. This is probably the worst part of it. This is the fourth thing I observe about the Vision Pro, is that it will further waste your time, and it will further transform you from a creative individual into a passive consumer. Because the thing that's being sold right now about the goggles is that you can watch movies in big screen. And it's really clever the way they do that, because there are two ways to see a movie on a big screen. You can either make a really gigantic, expensive screen in a huge space where you'd have to basically have a movie theater in your house, a big IMAX movie theater in your house, or you can bring the screen really close to your eyes and so it looks bigger in your field of vision, and that's less expensive and much easier to do given the constraints of where people live. And they're gonna say, you can watch movies, you can watch documentaries, you can communicate with people, but what's the other thing that you're gonna do? You're gonna buy stuff, and you're gonna be able to buy stuff with your eyes. You're not gonna use your hands. You're just gonna look, and you're gonna say, oh, Amazon app, boop, or Apple Store, boop, buy, blink if you want to spend $10 on some stupid episode. Yeah, sure, blink, blink, blink. Just give me more stuff blink if you want to get some, I don't know, handbag delivered. Blink, oh yeah, please, buy. You're gonna do that until all your money runs out.
Money's gone.
But not only are you gonna be buying all this stuff, most of which you don't need, but there's an opportunity cost for all of that time. Time really matters, time is money, baby. And so all of the time that you're spending watching these movies and engaging in social media and chats and stuff that you're already doing now, you'll just be doing it in a much more immersive way, is time that you could have spent working at your job, time that you could have spent praying. Remember praying? Remember when people would pray? Time that you could have spent learning a musical instrument, time that you could have spent walking through your neighborhood, time that you could have spent with your actual neighbors in your actual community, time that you could have spent doing things that are productive, building that toy for your kid that you ordered, or making some memory with your family. It's going to take you away from that. And those things are not merely pleasurable in themselves, but they also have a much longer payoff. If you learn how to play the ukulele when you're a kid, then someday when you're old, you're going to have something that gives you enjoyment. And even when you're young, you're going to have something that gives you enjoyment. You're never going to be bored. If you spend time reading books, you're going to cultivate all sorts of different interests and ideas that are going to occupy your time. Whereas, if you instead spend your time just passively consuming things, then you're going to get bored a lot. You're even going to get bored of the magical goggles, and so they're going to have to increase the stimulation, which is what always happens with modern technology. So it's going to be even more immersive, and eventually they're going to plug your brainstem into the matrix, and then it's all going to be lost. Then there's one final thing that I notice about the goggles, also negative. We had one kind of positive, 4 negatives here. And it's this curious little bit about how while you're using the goggles, your avatar is going to speak with their hands, as though all the avatars are Italian or something. You see it in the trailer that you're going to be making an impassioned speech, and it's going to have your hand going like this and like that, and your face is going to be moving, you're going to be smiling. The AI is so smart that it's going to know that when you move your eyes in a certain way, or when you say a certain thing at a certain volume with a certain inflection, that's the sort of thing that you would say when you raised your hands, or when you smiled, or when you frowned, or it's just gonna know. And there were 2 scary conclusions we can draw from that. One is that the AI actually does know that you are predictable, that we're feeding this thing so much data all the time that it actually knows us better than we know ourselves. The other nasty conclusion that we could draw from it is that it's making these decisions for us. Yeah, maybe you didn't literally raise your hands when you were having that conversation and making that point, but your avatar did, and you probably would have. It would make sense for you to do that, so it's just going to decide to do that for you. And the whole point of these goggles is to be more and more immersive. The technology companies now are just competing for more and more of our attention. And the limit on that, the ideal, will be 24 hours a day. I guess ultimately the real limit is radical life extension, where they figure out how to somehow upload your brain into a cloud or some other science fiction craziness, so that they can really get you forever and just mine you for juice forever. But that's what they want. They want you to be spending more and more of your life there. They want you to have business meetings there. They want you to watch movies there. They want you to hang out with your friends there. They want you to play games there. They want you, you're definitely going to look at a ton of porn there, right? I mean, porn is ubiquitous in our culture. It drives so much technological advancement. The vast majority of people look at it regularly. I mean, the minute that you pair these goggles with some sex robot that I'm sure they're going to develop tomorrow, then we're never reproducing again. Then civilization is actually over. The human race is probably over at that point. But even put all of that aside, It's going to be, for all intents and purposes in public life, you. And so if the public representation of you is having decisions made by a computer, then that means that you are no longer really in control. The cart is coming before the horse. The tail is wagging the dog. And your sunglasses are controlling you. And you look like a big weirdo nerd while you're doing it. So no, I probably won't buy them. Until in this techno-dystopia, they just make us all do it. In which case, because it sounds so dark and scary and obviously inhuman, I have to assume it's going to happen. And I guess I'll see you all there with a bunch of arms making weird Italian gestures in the metaverse. See ya.